You're watching Faith Unscripted, coming to you from the greater Chicago area. Now, here's Pastor Moses.
Now watch it. Now, what you will notice about the people of Israel is this, is that every time God's about to give them happiness, they would constantly sabotage it. Can I show it to you? All right, Exodus 14. Now here it goes, Exodus 14, we just read it. God was literally trying to deliver them from Egypt, like he said he would. All right? Now, right when Moses is leading them through the Red Sea to be free, all of a sudden, boom, their mood swings. All right? Because now in Exodus 13, the previous verse, the Bible says when they initially left, was getting ready to go out of Egypt, they was strong. All right, okay. Exodus 13, verse 18. Come on, real quickly. 18 says this. New King James Version says, so God led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. Watch how the NLT says it. It says, so God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Watch it. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready. Y'all making me work so hard. I'm trying to teach, but y'all ain't. When they first get ready to leave, they're ready for battle. I'm about to get free. I'm about to get free. I've been in bondage, but I'm about to get free. It was all good. But watch it, the closer they got to being free, the Bible says something happened. On the road to happiness, their mood changed. Exodus 14, verse 10 says, when Pharaoh drew near, they lit up their eyes. They saw the Egyptians coming, and watch how they talked. They said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us to die in the wilderness? Why have you dealt with us to bring us out? They don't even want to get out of Egypt now. Watch verse 12. Is this not the word we said in Egypt? Leave us alone. Watch this now, how sick they are. That we may serve. Watch it. We want to serve our abuser. It's some serious stuff. We would rather serve the person that beat us and treat us like trash instead of just keep on pushing, trusting God, getting what God said we can have, actually being happy. No. I'd rather go back to being a slave. Now, I'm going to prove to you that they sick and they're playing games. Because watch it. Remember when God first came to Moses, he said this, I heard their cry. Which meant they had been praying to God, saying, God, get us out. But when it actually came time for them to get out, they shifted their mood in order to sabotage the happiness that God was trying to give them and bring in their life. Are you still with me here? Can I show you another example? All right, come on, watch it. In Numbers 13, come on, keep flowing. Numbers 13. Now, they eventually made it through that. Because God told Moses, they're crazy, but keep on pushing. All right, they'll follow, just keep on pushing. Moses was finally able to get them out of Egypt. Numbers 13 now, they're getting ready to enter to the next phase. They're about to get to the promised land. So Numbers 13, here it goes. Moses asked for 12 spies to go out and see the promised land, to bring him back a report. And watch it, when they come back with a report, they are once again hesitant to be happy. Look at Numbers 13, verse 26. Numbers 13, verse 26. It says, now they departed, came back to Moses and Aaron, and all the congregation of children of Israel, the wilderness of Paran and at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and all the congregations and showed them the fruit of the land. Here it goes. They had evidence that what God said was true. But the evidence wasn't enough. Because faith without movement only produces false hope. They had the belief, we see it in our hand. He said it was a land with large fruit. The fruit is large, just like he said. But watch what they said. Then they told him, we went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, here comes the sabotage. The people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified, and they're very large. Moreover, the descendants of Anak, they are there. The Amalekites dwell in the land, the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, all in the mountains, and the Canaanites, they dwell by the sea along the banks of the Jordan. Verse 31, skip down. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people. Watch it. For they are stronger than we are. Verse 32 is so sad. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out. The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people we saw in it are men of great stature. Once again, look at it, y'all. They are close to happiness. I pray somebody get this. But the closer they get, the mood started swinging. But why? Because they're not used to being happy. They are hesitant to be happy. And come on, can we be all the way real? Somebody say, be all the way real, Pastor. Come on, somebody is listening to me today. And if the truth be told, you can relate to Israel's problem. Because just like Israel, I'm preaching to somebody, every time God seeks to bring happiness to your life, you can't receive it, you can't enjoy it, you can't walk in it, because you're hesitant to be happy. God, give me a partner, somebody I can live life with. God, give me a man. God, give me a good godly woman. God sends you somebody. Everything you prayed for. Well, I don't know, child. Just too good to be true. I just... Okay, see, y'all got mad at me over there. Okay, I'm going back. See, they got mad at me over there. They got mad at me. God, give me a job. I want a job. I want a good job. God gives you a good job with benefits. 401k. Everything you've been praying for won't show up on time. Come on, y'all don't like this kind of And sometimes it's confusing because you're saying, isn't this what you wanted? Don't you want to be happy? But if you have not resolved in your spirit that God wants you to be happy, and if you have not learned to control the moods that will try to come up when you're close to happiness, you will sabotage what God is trying to do in your life. Look at somebody and say, just give my pastor 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. I'm done. 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. Because let me quickly give you the reasons why many of us are hesitant to be happy. You still with me? All right, write this down. The first reason why a lot of us are hesitant to be happy, number one, we fear disappointment. One of the main reasons we are often hesitant to be happy is because we have a fear of being let down again. We're afraid to believe. Because the truth is, we got more confidence in our doubt than we do our faith. See, I believe if you push deep in Israel's psyche and their heart, perhaps they wanted to be happy. But now here's the problem. They had been down for so long that down had become normal. That's why I believe they said to Moses, it would have been better for you to keep us in Egypt than to try to make us get out. Why? Because when stuff got tough, when stuff, they had to use their faith, all of a sudden it was easier to go back to what they were used to go back to being down, to go back to not being happy. Whatever you do, don't allow Egypt to become normal. Come on, who am I preaching to? Whatever you do, don't you dare allow Egypt to become normal. Don't ever get so messed up in your mind that you get okay with not being okay. Now, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to be okay with not being okay. Look at somebody and say, I deserve to get back up. Come on, look behind you and say, I have a God who's a God of resurrection. I hear you, Jesus. He said, I am the resurrection. How I'm going to serve a Savior of resurrection and be comfortable being down. Come on, look at somebody and say, get yourself up. And what happens is, when you become comfortable with being down and you try to get up, this is what happens. The mood swing of fear arises. That's what got Israel. They were used to being down for so long that when they tried to get up, here it goes, their mood swing shifted to fear. And that's something we got to deal with today. Because there are many of you, you've been down in a down season for a long time. But if you believe your prophet, I'm telling you, God's trying to get you up. But for some of you, God can't get you up because every time you get up, fear tries to lock you down to make you think that you're going to be disappointed, that God's not going to do what he said, that Pastor Moses just lying to me. It ain't really going to happen. It's my neighbor's season. It ain't my season. So you are used to being a cheerleader for everybody else. You used to watching everybody else get blessed, and you just say, good job. Come on, baby, that day is over. It's time for you to get some. Come on, bump somebody. Say, it's time for me to get some. It's time for me to eat out of the good of the land. And I come to encourage somebody today. It's time for you to get up. And I come to arrest that spirit of fear. And I come to release faith. For the Bible says God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a love, power, and of a sound mind. Come on, for the next 10 seconds, I need you to shout until that spirit of fear get out of your home. Until that spirit of fear get out of your spirit. Until that spirit of fear get out of the inside. I said shout. Come on, y'all ain't shouting. I said shout. Come on, some of you got it bad. Every time you try to get up, fear try to push you back down. Oh, but God sent you here today to bind that spirit of fear so that you can walk into the life that God has for you. If you believe it, open your mouth for 5 more seconds and give God a shout. Sit down. Sit down. All right. Are y'all still with me here? So y'all still with me? Come on, don't get tired. I told you sermon 1 gonna be a little longer. Stop. Come on. All right, number one. We are hesitant to be happy. Number 1, because what? Fear of disappointment. Number 2, we are hesitant to be happy because we feel undeserving. This is when we don't feel as if we're worthy or valuable enough for God's happiness. Now, this causes the mood swing of insecurity to arise, to make us walk away from our happiness. See, that's what happens in Numbers 13. When the spies saw the giants in there, they immediately became insecure. Their mood shifted to insecurity, so much so that they was willing to walk away from the land that God said they could have. What have you walked away from that God said you could have, but you're too scared to walk in it? Look at somebody say, I'm about to get it. Because watch it, Numbers 13, verse 33. It says, Numbers 13, verse 33. When they was given a report, they said, there we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak. They came from the giants. And watch it, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so were we. And now the Bible never said that the giants thought that they were grasshoppers. If I had time, and I don't, But if y'all really wanted the word, and I don't know if you're doing that, If I had time, but when you get home, I would take you to Joshua chapter 2 and 3, where when the people who they talking about actually heard they were coming, the Bible says they immediately got afraid. Because they said, ain't that the same group that beat the Egyptians? If they were able to beat the Egyptians, imagine what they're going to do to us. See, I'm trying to tell you, the very thing that you're afraid of is really afraid of you. Come on, that devil that you keep running from, if you ever just stand up and realize who you are, you will realize that the devil is trying to run from you, because he know the moment you show up, no weapon formed against you is going to be able to prosper. He already know greater is he that I feel like preaching today. Greater is he that is in you than he that's in the world. High five yourself and say, I know who I am. Sit down. I'm almost done. See, here's the problem. It's not how the giants perceive them. It's how they perceive themselves. They saw themselves as small and insignificant. They saw themselves as someone who couldn't get happiness because they weren't valuable enough to get. Here's a word for somebody. You got to get your value up. Some of you have missed blessings playing the little fake humble game. No, not me. Come on, some of y'all get mad at me now. Playing games, knowing you want it, but afraid to speak it. That you ought not ever be afraid to say anything God said you can have. Come on, I told you the Bible said he takes pleasure in you. Why are you afraid to walk in the blessing? Why are you hiding your new car? Why are you scared to tell people the blessing that God has given you? Child, please. Now, I'm going to walk big because I know who I am and I know what God said I can have. Come on, just look behind you and tell that neighbor, you deserve it. You deserve it. Come on. I need somebody to know today that you are a child of God. You deserve to be blessed. Oh, shucks, you're supposed to be blessed. Somebody better get this mic out of my hand before I rip this church. Come on, look behind you and say you're supposed to be blessed. You're supposed to prosper. What God has for you, it is for you. Sit down. And I come against that spirit of insecurity. I come against that spirit of insecurity. That you can't walk in what God has for you. God's trying to increase you. God got money waiting on you for you to go back to school. I'm too old. I can't do it. I can't think like I used to think. The devil is all around you. If God said you can have it, you can have it. I can't start my own business. I ain't got no degree. I ain't got no money. God ain't concerned about money. God said, if you just do what I said, by the time you get there, I got money waiting for you. I got people waiting to open up their checkbook and say, what can I do for you? You just ain't showed up yet. Somebody shout, I deserve it. All right. We are hesitant because we feel disappointment. We feel undeserving. Thirdly, we are hesitant because we feel guilty. This is when we allow our past mistakes to disqualify us from our present day happiness. So in this case, the enemy puts you in the mood of sadness that is birthed out of condemnation and out of shame. But see, we must understand that our happiness is not based on how great we are, but is based on God's grace. Come on, somebody shout, it's a grace thing, it's a grace thing. And the enemy will use guilt to try to keep you from God's goodness. But I'm telling you, the happiness that God has for you has nothing to do with your ability to obey rules and regulations. If it was based on that, none of us have nothing. Come on, bump somebody and say, you ain't that holy. Come on, when you leave here, you change a little church voice. Come on, when you leave here, you know how to get jiggy with it. When you leave here, you know how to drop it like it's hot, pick it back up, drop it again. Come on, look at somebody and say, if it was based on rules and regulations, well, none of us have nothing. Now, I don't know why y'all being bougie. Some of you ought to take a 5-second shout and just thank God for his grace. Because some of you drove here today on grace. Some of you going back to a house that you got on grace. Some of you going to a job in the morning and you still got that job because of the grace of God. Every time you put your ATM card, you get money out. Not because you saw all of that. It's because of God's grace. Somebody shout grace. Somebody shout grace. Somebody shout grace. Look at somebody and say, he got 3 minutes left. He got 3 minutes left. Bible says that it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance. Hear me good. God is about to be so good to some of you, he's going to make you live right. I said, God's about to be so good to some of you, he's going to make you live right. You're going to tell them, I would come over, but God's been too good for me to be fooling with you. Come on, look at somebody and say, God's goodness is going to make me do right. All right, I got to stop. All right. We are hesitant to be happy. Why? We fear disappointment. We feel undeserving. We feel guilty. Here's the last one. We feel it's not sustainable. This is big because many people are hesitant to be happy because we don't think it will be long lasting. I don't want to get happy again and don't work out and I'm back down again. And perhaps that's what Israel's problem was. They didn't think that perhaps God could sustain them in the place that he was placing them. And see, when this happens, the mood swing of anxiety rises up. That you become anxious and you can't enjoy what God has for you because you're always trying to find something wrong with what the blessing that God has given you. But can I tell somebody this? When God blesses you, he's not trying to take anything from you he gave you. The only person that can mess up your blessing is you. Come on, when God gives you something, he wants it to be yours. The only person that can ruin it is you. Look at somebody and say, don't ruin what God is doing in your life. And I hear God saying to somebody, who word this is? I hear God saying to somebody, trust yourself. That in this season, you will not mess up what God is doing in your life. Who am I preaching to? Please show yourself to me. God is saying to you that you will not mess up. Stop being worried. Stop being afraid. You got this. Touch your chest and say, I got this. Come on, get a little ghetto with it. Say, I got this. Somebody shout, no sabotage. All right? Which for some of you, it means this. No disruptive behavior. Some of you, when it gets good, stuff starts to feel happy, you start acting crazy just to mess it up again. Sometimes when things are functional, you purposely act dysfunctional because you're more comfortable in drama. What I want to do today is I want to use this man's story and his testimony to help us get some spiritual therapy for the emotion of
Join us every Sunday virtually on Facebook Live, live stream, or YouTube for a powerful, impactful word.
Remember now to get your praise on every Sunday
on Facebook Live, live stream, or YouTube for a powerful, impactful word.
Hi, I'm Lucretia Herring, Executive Director of Faith Movers Academy. Faith Movers Academy is located right here on the grounds of Faith Movers Church. Born out of our senior pastor, Pastor Moses B. Herring Sr.'s vision to have a Christian academy that marries spiritual growth and development and academic rigor, Faith Movers Academy provides for a Christ-centered, personalized educational experience that is both fun and creative. And we want you to be a part of that experience. If you have a scholar that is pre-K, ages 3 and 4, or if you have a scholar that is in grades K through 5th grade, we would love to see you here. Why don't you visit us at www.faithmoversacademy.org or call us at 708-279-1012. Remember, Faith Movers Academy, where we're building faith, developing scholars, and revolutionizing education. We'll see you soon.
Faith Movers Academy wants to be part of your child's educational journey. At FMA, we believe every child is a scholar and every scholar has a divine purpose and gift from God. Birthed out of the vision of our senior pastor, Faith Movers Academy is an innovative, Christ-centered, culturally relevant academic institution that believes in personalized learning. At FMA, we believe in hands-on learning, exploring our world through field trips, and giving each scholar an educational experience tailor-made for their learning style. At FMA, Faith Movers Academy will serve children ages 3 to 4 and offer grades kindergarten through 5th grade. Registration is open. Drop by for a tour or come to one of our many open house opportunities. Support the vision. For more information, go to www.faithmoversacademy.org or call 708-279-1012. Remember, Faith Movers Academy, where we are building faith, developing scholars, and revolutionizing education. Join the movement.
Thank you for watching Faith Unscripted with Pastor Moses. If you're ever in the greater Chicago area, Pastor Moses would like to personally invite you to see him live at Faith Movers Church. Faith Movers Church is located 25 minutes from the city of Chicago at 425 Exchange Street, University Park, Illinois, 60484. You can join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. and on Wednesday at noon and 7:30 p.m. We know this will be a transformational experience. Once again, thank you for watching Faith Unscripted with Pastor Moses. And remember, whatever you do, be a faith mover.
Welcome to Boss Up. I am Nicole Jones, the host of this show, and here at Boss Up, we talk about starting, grow, and sustain your business. Today, I have a special guest with me. He is a serial entrepreneur, he has multiple businesses throughout Atlanta, and today we just want to discuss how do you manage, grow, and sustain multiple businesses in your business. So Lance, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I want you to give a brief introduction because, I mean, you have quite a few businesses that you have here.
That's correct.
And you're managing them well. And
hopefully they generating revenue.
Right. That is, you have a business.
That's correct.
And one of the things that I really want to drive home with this particular show is being able to show our audience, tell our audience what's important about starting your business, how to grow, and how to sustain. And because you not only have one, but multiple, I'd like to at least give like a brief introduction to what businesses you own, and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. My primary business is home improvement and property services. That's just generating management for people in their daily activities. Most homeowners are faced with different type of challenges in owning their home, especially a new time home buyer. So a lot of times they just don't know anything about the house. So that's how I started that business. Of course, the landscaping that correlate with owning a home, a trucking business, because you see what's happening on the highways daily, Amazon and things of that nature. So one of the key things that I consider when I think about starting a business is what I see and what I also see needing support. And so you can determine, and are you passionate about it? If you can see a loophole in society that you think you can help with and in process generate some revenue, then you consider starting that business. So that's how I got into most of them, and being passionate about whatever area you want to be in. Don't try to go into computer business if you don't know anything about a computer.
Yeah.
It's just going to spin your wheels.
So you were able to essentially identify the gaps in the market.
Correct.
And figure out, this is something I see as a gap. This is where I feel like I can best serve in these different areas. How can I now, create a business around this particular need?
Correct. The biggest thing is, are you good at what you're starting?
Yeah.
A lot of people have numerous ideas on starting a business, but are you good at it?
Yeah.
Do you have a support system? What's it going to cost? You and I talked about cost and what am I going to need? My licensing, my insurance, those things right there can slow people down in their process of starting business. A business. A lot of people say they have a business, but they don't have anything registered with their respective counties and their licenses and their insurance. So
that part scares me.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And and they're not able to get to the loans from the bank, the line of credit for their business. So it's a process that people need to understand.
Yeah.
And they can find that type of information on Google, and they can contact you, and we'll share that with them on the process of actually starting a business correctly.
Correct.
So
no, that's awesome. That's great feedback. I do want to take it a step back because I introduced you as a serial entrepreneur.
Correct.
Some people that are listening to this show may not know what that actually is. So because we hear the term entrepreneur so often, we know,
correct.
Okay, that means you are a business owner, you're self-employed, or you might be working a 9-to-5 still with a business on the side, working as an entrepreneur.
That's correct. All those apply.
Serial entrepreneur means you have multiple entrepreneurial businesses.
That's correct.
You discussed, a few of those. How many do you have in total?
About 5.
5.
About 5 different ways that I make money. Yes. When you describe them, you start off, again, I start off with the home improvement. So that's 1. I love to go to sports, so I decided to start a ticket broking. That's 2. Then I was doing the landscaping and property management. So as society grew with the Airbnb, guess what? More people were turning their rental properties into Airbnb. So that grew. And then as of recently, as a month and a half ago, my brother and I just started a Logistical Solutions, which is a transportation company.
Wow.
So again, because we see a gap in the market and we just trying to get in there. When you start talking about serial entrepreneur versus like you said, a 9-to-5 that has a business, both the same, but just I have more than one.
Yep. No, that's very true. That's very true. So let's go a little bit deeper into you actually going into these businesses. Something that you mentioned earlier, I think, is really key. And you mentioned it's important to have a passion for these different areas. You don't go into starting an entrepreneurial business because it happens to be the next trend, it's the next fad, and everybody's doing it. Everybody wants to start an eyelash business or something. It's like, oh, let me get into that because it seems lucrative. But if you have literally not made way into that space at all, you don't even wear makeup, you have no interest in that space, it may or may not be the best idea for you to go into those different areas. Right. So when I want to get to like for you, when you went into these different spaces, you had some sort of interest in gaining more perspective and sharing that knowledge in these areas. Right. When you break them down, like I said initially, as a boy growing up in the South, you cut grass, right? I can remember being a young man and me and my buddies get together, grab a lawnmower, knock on door to door.
and we would cut the grass for $6 and $7. Now, of course, that was many years ago. And, you come to today's society where you have a lot of digital age young men. So your 14 and 15-year-olds, for the most part, they're savvy in telephones and things of that nature, but they're not doing blue-collar work. They're not cutting grass. They're not washing cars. You see them out in society, right? You see car washes and landscaping trucks go by back and forth. So me having done that also let me realize that, hey, it's a lot of work out here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out here that don't cut their own lawns. So, I done it as a boy. My family used to tease me because I was the cousin that's always in his own yard. So I started a business. So I already had the passion. So, and that's important when you're going out there, because you're not out there chasing money. You're chasing your passion, and the money will come. And everything that you do, if you decide to start a business and you want to chase money, you're going to lose. You just be passionate about whatever you're doing, and then you're gonna sustain success. If you look at all the successful things and the people that you see on TV, the digital guys, the telephone guys, the Uber guys, they're extremely passionate about that thing.
Yeah. They
sleep it, they eat it, they drink it, they do it every day. That's all they talk about. Oh, here come Eddie. He gonna talk about some grass. He gonna come talk about selling me a ticket. Now, many years ago, it was difficult for me to go out there and try to solicit work. You get 6, 7 years, 8, 10 years in that. You don't do that anymore. People ring my telephone.
Yep.
Say, hey, I heard you cut grass. Hey, I heard you got tickets this. Hey, you got this. And it's just that quick. You got to be passionate.
Yeah.
It's going to show in your work. It's going to show in everything that they do. So I encourage people to start with what they like. If you like to cook and everybody says your cooking is good, start right there.
Yeah.
And
I
do your
agree.
research.
I love that.
Research too. Do your research and know what you're doing.
I love that. Because there might be some people who are watching today who are in that boat where they're saying, I know I want to be an entrepreneur, but I literally have no idea where to start.
Right.
And so tapping into those passions, tapping into those natural gifts and natural abilities that you have.
Right.
This is something I talk with my friends and family about all the time. Like, if there's something that your friends naturally go to you and gravitate to you about, that might be your natural gift, and where you can then flourish and turn that into a lucrative business.
Absolutely.
So it's very key, very important to understand what is it that you innately enjoy, and then turn that into a profitable opportunity, given that you want to go into entrepreneurial space. So, yeah,
I mean, that's very true. I like helping people. That's why I get my kick at. I can tell you a story. When I first initially started my landscaping company, me and a guy named Williams, EJ is what we call him, and we would be riding around, and we were going through a low-class income neighborhood, and a lady stopped us, and her yard was really distressing. She was like, "Can you cut our grass?" And I was like, that was worth more or less really like $100 yard. And she was like, I don't have any money. Can you cut out? Can you help me out? I looked at Will and I said, you know what, Will, let's just do it. So we just cut her grass, and we just told her to give her what she could. She gave us like $10 or $15, but we attained more money in spirit than we did with tangible cash, because when we left, she was happy.
Yep.
And then of course your blessings are going to follow
Yes.
follow that pattern. But true to business form, that's a great passionate story, but in some cases it's not something that I would advise in a business capacity, because I spent money to do that.
Yep.
But I also have a ratio that allows me to know exactly how much money I was going to spend in that yard. So other than paying Will, I probably broke even. So I didn't make any profit. I broke even. When you start going in the red, then you have to understand what decision you're making. So to be more focused, having a passion and wanting to make people happy. Some people want to change the world. They want to make things easier for people. That's kind of like a starting point. It's going to keep you going in the lulls of your business, because you're going to face those.
What you're looking for, people right here on the whole TV. What It's at the core of who we are. The freedom to live without fear, to jog where we please, to wear a hoodie. The freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Well, look, you might not be popular, but my favorite character is Celestial because
one of the quotes that I wrote down in the book that kind of stood out to me was, "Love is the enemy of sound judgment."
She seemed like a very needy woman. And I can't even respect Andre, because how do you prey on your friend's wife while he's incarcerated? Like, I just can't get with that. And maybe I got too invested in the book, That's
I love that story. That's perfect. It's a great segue into, I want to talk more about the financial piece in business and how to operate that. But what you just spoke to essentially gives weight to if the old saying, if you were to actually do something for free, what would that actually be? That was somewhat in the same reign of, this correct. Is what I would do because I passionately enjoy helping people and what I do in terms of landscaping. Right. Something that's really key, that what you just said, was the ratio. You knew this lady, she didn't necessarily have the funds to contribute the $100 for landscaping, which is what I would typically charge. However, it was the giving aspect, but you also, from a business sense, knew I had enough capacity to do this based on what she could give me. Correct. You knew your numbers, essentially, is what it boils down to. How do you, as a serial entrepreneur, balance multiple businesses and the financial piece across all of those?
Well, you do your research. You stay current on trending pricing fluctuation. Like with the transportation business, know how diesel costing you per mile, so forth and so on. If you're baking cakes, how much your eggs cost, how many eggs you need per cake.
Yep.
And you break that down all the way to the lowest level. There's no level lower. If it costs a penny and you pay a penny every week, you need to have that 4 cents on your monthly finance document. You can't go wrong with that. And so when you're starting a business, it's important to know, because so many times, depending on, like in home improvement area, you want to do well. I give you a live example. When you start talking about budgeting, you have a gentleman that works for you. His typical pay might range from $150 to $200 a day. You got a job that's going to take you 3 days. His pay is $246. Whatever you quote that lady or that gentleman, it's got to be more than $600, because you already know you're going to pay $246 to this gentleman.
Exactly. Got to bake in that margin, essentially.
Right. So when you're breaking down your business costs, you know exactly where you need to be, where your business needs to sustain. If you had to go on a percentage, I would tell people the business and myself are going to take half. The employees are going to take the other half. So out my half, the business fluctuates. Sometimes the business might take my whole half. If you're running something with expensive equipment and your equipment goes down, you're going to lose your whole half. But if you run good, then you take care of your stuff. It should be, at the end of the day, you should start looking at about just that, a 30% going to your employees, a 30% going to yourself, 40% going to the business. Even though it breaks down at 50 and 50, the pendulum is going to swing a little bit, but you're controlling that. So you got to know your finances when it comes to your business.
No, that's so key. It's very critical, because it shows if you actually have growth in your business. You could be running your business for 5 years, but if you don't know your numbers, you could literally be running into the ground. Right. I think another natural question behind that is go ahead.
Just keep in mind, the IRS is tracking you.
Yeah.
They only going to let you, when you say for 4 or 5 years, they're only going to let you lose for 5 years.
Yeah. If you're not generating income,
you got a limit. See, that's things that people need to research.
Yes.
So when you do your taxes and you're saying, "Oh, I spent $50,000, made $50,000, so I didn't make any money," You got about 5 years to get that together, and they're going to come knocking on your door.
Great point.
So,
Great point.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That was good. That was a good added input, because speaking of tracking, what tools and resources do you use to help manage multiple businesses in the financial space?
I mean, depending on the type of business you have, it's going to dictate that, whether people want to use, I don't want to be a advocate for a platform or something like that, but you got several different, QuickBooks type programming that you can put on your computers that'll manage your finances. Your personnel, you got you got companies, again, I won't say their names, but you got companies that you can solicit and pay them a fee. They'll take care of your payroll. They take care of all that for you. The management, invoicing, just depending on how your business is growing. And of course, I encourage that.
Yep.
Because it can get to the point where it's overwhelming. One of the challenges that a lot of limited liability companies faced during this pandemic was that they weren't entitled to some of the revenue that was given out. The PPPs and things of that nature, they were missed initially because they didn't have a financing agency that was turning their paperwork in. Of course, the government came back and revamped it, and of course, they were able to get some help for their payroll. But using those type of organizations ensures a lot of times that you're going to be qualified.
Exactly.
If you don't have a business account, you're not going to get a business line of credit. You have to. Most people don't check those boxes. They start a business, they make a few $100s here and there, and they think they're off to the races. You got to show the big boys with the money that you're making money, so they can give you more money, so you can make more money. Don't forget what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're trying to build something. When you get past the passion, when you get past the love you like for doing whatever you're gonna do, you got to make the money. You got to get that ball rolling. In order to do that, you got to follow the guidelines that they have.
Exactly.
Secretary of State, license, bank account, insurance, production, deduction, profit. And then from there, you moving forward. There's so many businesses out there.
Yeah.
There's so many things people do. Real estate, you see them popping. You see everybody coming up and down with it, right? You see them, boss up. They bossing up out there. But they sometimes you see them going around it, pop-up shops, the latest trend, which is great.
That is, yeah.
You see all these different things. What does your paperwork look like?
Yeah, I think that's a good trend that we've been talking about in each part of which you've been able to share. The track record is you need to have documentation.
Absolutely.
You need the paper trail to show that you are a legit business. Starting out, you're just trying to get your bearings. You're trying to get the research in terms of how should I register my business, the license, the state, the county, the bank account, so on and so forth. But even after you do that in those initial steps, you still have to have that track record to show that you are being a legitimate business.
Right. And you got, I failed to mention that I came up with a male product line, a beard, cream, and, facial, and something that I've been working on.
Okay, come on, male product line.
Yeah. NB products, and again, I saw something there. I saw the men trending with the beards. Everybody was wearing the beard. They started going to facial hair being more societal acceptable.
Yep.
And in that process, I went to Walmart and I went to that section, and there wasn't that many choices. So keeping in mind that when you want to encourage people, so you guys out there that want to start a business and you think it's plenty businesses out there, there's always room for one more.
Always.
There's always room for one more.
Yes, you hear that often.
You.
Yes.
Go ahead and give it a shot, and each person has their secret. So just follow people that are doing it correctly, that are generating revenue. Don't follow somebody off a cliff. YouTube is a great source for whatever business. And I tell you another thing, I will actually go on YouTube. See, if a person say they want to own a business or do something, they want to be this way and that way, and they're not doing their research, don't even talk to them. You can start with YouTube, hours upon hours on each subject. 2 nights ago, I'm looking at transportation videos. I'm watching the guy drive a truck across the country.
in awe.
Yeah, just watching.
That's what they call YouTube University, because you literally use it as your crash course into what you're trying to get
you
into.
Got to do that.
So something, I'm going to take it back a little bit. Something you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the employees being able to have that team behind you, that support system, I think is what you said specifically. How did you begin to band together this support system across your business? Because I think there's one thing to want to start a business, get that situated and set that foundation. Then the second part is, who is it that I can trust to help me in building and growing this business? How did you go about doing that?
Okay, well, the truth of the matter is that's always ongoing. It never stops. You get immune to it. You get a shell that you're defensive to. Just trust, and you start pulling in your baby. To help people out, I would give you this. You're never going to find yourself. Your right-hand man, your CEO, whoever you identify, he's never going to be you, because he's not the owner of the company. You're the owner of the company. So that decreases your expectations, also keeps you alert that no matter who I hire, they're not going to do it like I will. So you're a little bit more lenient, but more alert. He's not going to go the extra mile. Everything's serious. To him, you lose a customer cutting grass. Oh, I just lost $50. To me, as a business owner, I'm saying, yeah, but I cut a yard twice a month for 9 months. You lost $50. I lost 900. You know, but he's not me, so why would he think that way? So when you go to the personnel management piece, you know, it's America. It's up and down. You know, you have a guy, he here, next week he gone. You don't linger on it too much. What you focus on is the treatment of those people. You try to treat them fair, no favoritism and things of that nature, and they are your number one asset. I've had jobs when I had a team in place. I want to say at my height, I probably had about 14 guys. I had a phone book, 14 guys I can call. And not at one time where we was doing a mall or a large property, I would have as many as 14 people out there.
Wow.
So that's not it's not hard. They know what their job is. You start appointing guys, and you always have a right hand. Like to this day, I have a right hand man. He's gonna do everything I say. Make sure everything he knows the cost. He's kind of knows that he's privy to all the information I am, and it costs me a little bit more. But trust is not, you know, you're going to have to pay for that trust. Give him something to lose. That's my advice as well. You know, you paying a guy minimum, he's not gonna be trustworthy. Family, husbands and wives, they great secretaries when you start off. Whether male, you know, whoever owned the business, somebody can do your paperwork when you're starting. Sons and daughters, support system, aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandfather, friends. Hey, I'm baking cakes. Everybody order a cake. Tell somebody, and then that person tells somebody.
Right.
And, you know,
right.
so personnel, marketing, all that goes hand in hand. But depending on your business, you hire them as you need them.
We're back on our Thanksgiving installation. Water also. I'm gonna let that come back to a boil.
If you're having a large event with people who have mixed vaccination status, There are a few different things you can do to keep Thanksgiving dinner safer.
No one's safe. In this case, when it comes to holiday gathering, there are not safety in numbers. Referring to people that you have actually been around during the pandemic, people that might not be directly a part of your household, but you're familiar with their behavior. They are also taking the same precautions that you are. You know, having small gatherings with that group of people is considered safer.
I think the key point that I took away from that was just to be fair.
Right.
Because you want these people for the long haul, to be there for quite some time. There's not a lot of turnover in your business. So you want to treat them, you want to keep the financial aspect top of mind because it is your business and you want it to be lucrative. But however, you want to also know that this is a human to human interaction. These are people they're not just robots working for me. These are people who have lives, they have families, so I want to treat them as such. So I know if I'm able to connect with them in that way, they're in it with me for the long haul, considering they don't want to move up to different opportunities.
Well, yeah, that's an accurate statement, depending on the businesses that we have. Let's just talk about some of the common business that we see in urban America. We see hair salons, barbershops, car washes, mechanic shops, tire shops that are owned by us. When I've learned that me having a guy long term is probably unlikely, and I've accepted that. But also what role I've placed is I want him to start his own.
I love that.
So keep in mind that my right-hand man, he might make 40 to 45 or maybe even $50,000 a year. But that's capping me out as the money as I generate. He's putting me, I'm paying him out. You're the boss. So it's like, hey, this is where at 55 I can replace you. So you kind of grooming them to a point that if they have a go-getter attitude, keep that in mind as well too. If they have a go-getter attitude, then you want to make sure you have given him the tools to start a business. And I've done that. So I've got guys that run their own trucks and things of that nature, and they call me up. Hey, I'm in a jam. Come get me out of the jam. Or I might call them up. I'm in a jam. Where you at? Because you had a relationship and you gave him mentorship. Even though he's not your right hand anymore, he's out there and he's established his own business. And that's what you want to do. You don't, especially in our community, smaller businesses, it's very difficult. If we all fortunate, depending on the business you grow.
Yes.
Again, the type of business, know what your business can do. Hair. I got a cousin, Ebony. Shout out Ebony Chanel. She's doing really good. She's doing really, really well. She's over 6 figures.
Wow.
And she's not even 30.
Congratulations.
She does hair. So does she need a large? She's giving it in, shipping it out. But does her dad's my uncle? But does my uncle get packages in the mail every once in a while? He got to take them to the post office? Absolutely. Your family can be your support. So, and those are the different type of things. We are African Americans and us good folk, we are not recognizing the revenue that doing a business can generate for your household. Whether it be just that, whether it be baking cakes, whether it be doing small things. $100 a week, $5,200 a year. That's how much extra. You do that twice, they're gonna bump you up a tax bracket. You make 10 more thousand this year than you made last year, you're gonna go up a tax bracket.
Yep.
Now, what can you come up with to do that? If people had that attitude, we would start to catapult. That's an entrepreneur, though, right? That's a serious entrepreneur. That's how he thinks. Like everybody should think the same way. Why you don't have a business?
I actually was going to pinpoint on that because you mentioned you had to have that goal-getter mindset.
Right.
It's a mentality. Being an entrepreneur is not just a buzzword. You have to be mentally there, physically there, and be present in that moment to understand this is what I actually need to contribute to my business, to my community, to my employees in order for this to be successful. So I think that's super key. And I love that you use the word grooming when it comes to actually nurturing the people who are on your team, because that is super critical. It's very important, because that's what you want. That's how I envision, as I onboard people into my business, that to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's what we all want.
Okay.
So I think I would encourage people to just get out there and try. Be motivated. Do your research. Save your money. Also be careful that I was just telling a friend of mine that she does eyelashes and makeup. And as the pandemic hit, her business slowed down. So sometimes you're fortunate enough to have, I hate certain words. I don't like entrepreneur as a word, like I don't like hustle,
Okay, I like entrepreneur better than I like hustle.
Of course, they have great, You're not educated, you're a hustler. You get more sophisticated, become an entrepreneur. So I was just telling her, sometimes a hustle, the term using like those smaller businesses, get you over the hump when you have a normal job. That's your side job.
Yep.
And sometimes it can fluctuate. So a piece of advice for the people that really want to start, if you work at a business, a company, and you want to start your business, make sure before you jump off the cliff that once might be seen successful, that was really just doing it. You got a 500 guarantee coming in, and now you got a 200. Be careful.
Yep.
Just be careful. But it's also a great way to increase your lifestyle. I'm not saying that your business is going to be in everybody's house, nothing like that. I'm not saying that you're going to fail either, but it's your lifestyle change. It's being able to take your kids, get them something on Christmas, take them to Disney World once a year. That's all you're trying to do initially.
Okay.
We'll talk about getting to the big bucks on another episode, but initially you're generating positive revenue, and you get happy and motivated, and you're fulfilling your internal dreams. Entrepreneurship.
I love it.
A guy who really, really wants to make business and make a little revenue. That's a real entrepreneur. It's not hard for him. It might be hard for somebody else, but not him. He gonna go do whatever.
I love it, Lance.
Thank you.
You left the people with some advice. Like, that's homework for everybody who's at home, able to take that advice from Lance. I appreciate you being here, being so open with all your business, your advice, your tips. I think this is something that people can really take home with them, use as homework. Think about, how does that now apply to my business? How does that apply to me actually being an entrepreneur?
Right.
And what does that look like? What are some things that I had not considered? So thank you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys for watching Boss Up, and stay tuned for the next episode.